Sleep training can be a controversial topic in the mom community.
You just don't like your baby, like you never contact nap, like babies need contact.
But I'm here to tell you that there doesn't need to be tears or sleepless nights to get your baby to sleep independently and happily in their crib. As a first-time mom whose baby slept through the night at 10 weeks and who now sleeps happily in his crib for most naps at 4 months old, it is possible without tears if you're willing to put in some work. Every baby is unique, and in this video we're going to talk about the different baby temperaments. This is not a one-size-fits-all, and different things work for different families. It's a long one, so buckle up, maybe treat it as a podcast, and check out the timestamps and resources in the description. It goes without saying, but I am not an expert of any kind. I'm just a first-time mom sharing my experience, so please take everything I say with a grain of salt and talk to your doctors. Talk to your doctor! Talk to your doctor! Don't yell at me! I'm sweating. I get a lot of questions over here on YouTube and on my Instagram about how I dealt with Jesse's sleep and how we got to this point. So like I said, I'm not an expert at all. I just want to share from me to you what works for our baby. Every baby is so different. But honestly, the best thing that I recommend is reading books. And I'm going to talk about the 3 books that I recommend. We're going to go over month by month how Jesse was sleeping and what I did. I'm also going to show a real life example of a nap time, a real life example of putting him down for night sleep. And at the end, I'm going to answer your specific questions that you sent me via Instagram. So lots to cover in this video. Feel free to take notes or watch this back multiple times. There are timestamps in the description. But honestly, the thing that I recommend the most is to read the books that I recommend, or any books at all. I think being educated with knowledge gives us confidence as parents to use our intuition. So a lot of people criticize me for being a strict, rigid schedule mom, but that could not be farther from the truth. What I've learned from the books that I've read has equipped me to feel confident using my motherly instinct, my intuition, to read my baby's cues and to know exactly what to do in any given circumstance. The books are not a crutch to rely on or to blindly follow schedules. The books are empowering us to be the best that we can be. If you clicked on this video because you want your baby to sleep through the night or to sleep in the crib during naps or whatever, but you're unwilling to read a book or 2, I would question how much do you really want this? And if you don't want this, that's totally fine. Everybody is different. I know some moms who love co-sleeping, who love contact napping, who love nursing to sleep or feeding through the night, and that is totally fine. But I know there are a lot of us out there, people like me, who want their baby to sleep in the crib independently, who want them to sleep through the night from 4 months on as early as they can. So if that's you, keep watching. Okay, let's jump right in. No time for chitter chatter. Books that I recommend in order of importance, there are 3. The first one is The Baby Whisperer. This one was written in 2001 or published in 2001. If you've been watching my channel, you're like, why didn't you tell me about this book sooner? It's honestly because I read it so early in pregnancy that I completely forgot that I read the book. But this really did shape the way that I look at newborns and babies. So in this book, she talks about the 5 different temperaments that a baby can have and how different babies need different things, which is so important because not every baby is the same, as we know. You have an angel baby, which is just generally like the easiest baby you can have, a textbook baby, which are babies that follow a predictable schedule and are easy to care for. This is, I think, what Jessie is. You have a touchy baby. These babies are sensitive and need extra care or comfort. This is that baby where as soon as their diaper is wet, you need to change them, otherwise they're not happy. If their clothes are uncomfortable, you may realize you have a touchy baby. Spirited baby. This is my nephew. These babies are active, energetic, and may have a difficulty settling down or following routines. My nephew Luke is the most energetic. He can play all day without fail, and he loves it. Like, he thrives off of stimulus, entertainment, activity. And then you have the grumpy baby. These babies are often fussy and may take longer to settle or adjust to new situations. In this book, she helps you identify what baby you have, and she gives you tips and tricks on how to care for your specific baby. And another important philosophy in this book that really shaped how I view my child is to treat the baby as you would like to be treated. So often, I feel like in our society today, the first line of advice is to shove a bottle or a breast in the baby's mouth whenever they cry, and we label it as feeding on demand. But when we really think about it, and we slow down and assess the situation, is the baby actually hungry, or are they tired? Do they need a cuddle? Do they need a diaper change? Is it too cold? Is it too hot? Is their clothes scratching them? Have they seen the sunlight today? Have they seen your smile, and have you interacted with them today? There are so many needs and wants that a baby has. And I feel like the advice that I see online is to just feed on demand, and your baby must be hungry. They must be going through a growth spurt, which sometimes can be the case. If you follow these schedules and these routines, you know that your baby's not hungry because they just chugged an 8-ounce bottle. So it must be something else. But if we fall into this situation where we're letting the baby lead the way and letting them snack every hour, letting them sleep on and off whenever they want, we are going to be confused as parents because we don't know what the baby wants. But if we follow a flexible schedule, we know what the baby wants because we just know, because I don't know. I'm very passionate about this. Another core concept is eat, play, sleep. So we don't want to associate feeding to sleep. And again, if you love feeding to sleep, do what works for you. But a concept that you'll see throughout all of these books is that you feed the baby, you play with the baby, so you have a wake window with the baby, and then you put the baby to sleep so that we don't associate eating and sleeping. We don't want them to fall asleep while they're eating and associate that and need to eat in order to sleep, because that can create a pattern where in the middle of the night they can only fall asleep if they're being breastfed or bottle fed. The next very important concept is wake windows. So this is very easy. Once I understood this, things got really easy. I would just Google or ask ChatGPT, what is a typical wake window for a 5-week-old, a 6-week-old, however old your baby is. So right now, Jesse is 4 months and 1 week. His wake windows are from 1.5 hours to 2.5 hours. And towards the end of the day, it can be as long as 5 hours sometimes. And the wake windows extend for Jesse throughout the day. So the shortest wake window is the first one in the morning, and then he can go longer and longer in between naps until he gets that 2.5 hour wake window. And oftentimes from like 3:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. he's not sleeping at all. If you take anything from this video, it should be the wake windows and the eat, play, sleep. If you have these concepts, you can handle any day that gets thrown at you. So for example, if your baby wakes up at a crazy time, just follow the wake windows, just put them down for a nap at the appropriate wake window and make sure to give them 15 minutes to fall asleep. So if your wake window is 1 hour, make sure to put them down at 45 minutes so that they have that 15 minutes to fall asleep at the hour mark. I've realized that with Jesse, if I put him down at the exact wake window time, he's already overtired, he's already fussy, so it takes him longer to fall asleep. The next book that I recommend is the Contented Baby book. This is by a British author, like a British super nanny type. It's a very interesting read, and she is a little bit extreme on some of her approaches. So with this one, I recommend just taking it with a grain of salt, reading it for what it is, and applying the concepts that you think work for you. This is the book that I relied on for the first 2 months. Like, this was my Bible when it came to baby sleep. It was so helpful. I recommend getting the physical copy so you can highlight pages, make notes. She gives you schedules from day one. These schedules worked like magic for the first 2 months. When they're so little, they will sleep all day if you let them. So it's so easy to get them on a schedule when they're that little. And then I found that it got harder and harder, which I'll talk about. This book also gave me a lot of core principles and explanations as to why she does things the way she does things, which I did not find the case to be with Moms on Call, which is the third book or series package that I recommend. This is the most modern one. The other two are older. They have a website you can reference, and they have online schedules and feeding charts and all this stuff. I feel like the Moms on Call didn't really give me reasons. They were just like, do this, this, and this, but I was like, why? So Moms on Call is great if you just want something to be like, do this and see how it goes. But I really feel like the first 2 books gave me an understanding as to why we do certain things. So highly recommend all of them. When you've read multiple books, you can pick and choose and kind of reference and be like, well, my baby's more like this book, or my baby's more like this book. But if you only read one book, it's kind of like you're stuck in that one because that's all you know. So again, I would ask you, how much do you really want this? Are you willing to take a day or 2 to read each of these books? And if you're pregnant, now is the perfect time. You have all the time in the world. Trust me, you have all the time in the world. If you're a first-time pregnant mom, what are you doing with your time? You better be reading. Another core principle from the Baby Whisperer is to start as you wish to go on. So basically what she says is, if you want an 8-month-old baby who needs to be rocked or fed to sleep, or who needs to be breastfed or cuddled for 20 minutes before sleeping, then go ahead and do that from day one, because that's what's going to happen. If you want a baby who can, for the most part, sleep independently, start working on that from day one. So start as you wish to go on. The newborn trenches are hard. I feel like I'm coming out of that, especially now that he's sleeping better, but I do want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, which is Nutrafol Hair Vitamin, the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand. They're trusted by over 1.5 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. You guys know my mom is a dermatologist. I worked for her dermatology practice before I had Jesse. We sell this thing like candy because it is so helpful for people dealing with all types of hair loss or hair shedding, hair thinning, especially postpartum. They actually have a postpartum formula specifically designed for moms like you and me dealing with postpartum hair loss. I've shared in previous vlogs that my beautiful hair is falling out in chunks. So I'm doing everything I can to have my hair grow back healthy, thick, full, luscious. I'm just doing everything I can. So highly recommend Nutrafol. All of the vitamins are listed on the back. This is the powerhouse supplement for hair growth. I would bet a kidney on it. I've seen with my own eyes at the dermatology office how much Nutrafol helps people. If you're consistent with it and use it as directed, the results are crazy. You guys, people are growing hair and they are just so happy with the results. I'm so excited to see my hair growth. In a clinical study, 86% of women reported improved hair growth after taking Nutrafol women hair growth supplements for 6 months. Nutrafol supports visibly thicker, stronger hair by targeting the root cause of thinning, including stress, hormones, aging, nutrition, lifestyle, and metabolism as they evolve throughout a woman's life. You don't need a doctor prescription to purchase this. You can actually save 20% with their subscription service online and have it shipped to you automatically. Start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol. Right now, Nutrafol is offering my audience $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you click the link in the description and enter the promo code RachelVin. Be sure to use my code if you want to support my channel. It means so much to me. So yeah, click the link in the description and use my code RachelVin. So let's go and reflect month by month, and I'll tell you how Jesse was sleeping and what I did to get him to this point. So week 1, all about survival. Just get through it. Feed them every 3 hours, breastfeed, bottle feed, whatever you're doing. Sleep when you can. Baby will sleep all day, so it's fine. Week 2 is when I started on the Contented Baby book schedule. It was super helpful to have something to look at and something to kind of structure my day. I'm a pretty structured person, so that made me feel really, really good, and he adapted to it really quick because, again, at that age, they're so sleepy that you can wake them up or let them sleep, and they're just very malleable, so that worked really, really well. At this age, between like 2 to 5 weeks, he was so sleepy that he would just fall asleep very easily on our chest, and we would transfer him into the crib. So question about bassinet crib situation. We had the Nestig mini crib, so it was the same structure. So it was like a mini crib that now is transformed into his big crib. So technically he was in his crib from day 1. If you think about it, it was just like the mini version, but we transitioned into the bigger crib at 1 month because he was so tall, he was hitting the edges of his mini crib. By 1 month, he was in the big crib and he was in his own room. And my husband and I split the night shift, so one of us was always in there with him. We have a full-size bed in the nursery, so one of us was always with him so that the other one could sleep uninterrupted for 6 hours or so, and that really, really worked for us. So yeah, from 2 to 5 weeks, we would just transfer him. He wouldn't have a problem transferring. He would just stay asleep. But then around 5 weeks, I remember he would not transfer anymore. Like, he would fall asleep, we would put him down very gently, and he would wake up like every single time without fail, and it was so frustrating. So then I was like, this isn't working. Like, he literally will not transfer. I have no choice but to put him down awake in the crib. Drowsy but awake, that didn't work for me. What is drowsy? Like, you can be drowsy 1 second and then as soon as I lay you down, you're wide awake. So I was like, okay, I have to start putting him down awake. I literally have no choice. So we started doing that, and it was hard because he would cry. The second we put him down, he would cry. So I was like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? I referenced back to my books, and I implemented something called the pick up, put down method from about 5 weeks to 8-ish weeks, give or take. So I would put him down, he would immediately cry. I would pick him up, shush him, get him to a baseline and put him back down. And he would immediately cry. I would immediately pick him up, shush him, put him back down. I would have to do this 5 to 10 times, every single nap time, every single time he went down. Eventually they get the message and they fall asleep. This is how you basically sleep train a baby without having to let them cry. I would also work on crib side soothing from 5 weeks on. Sometimes instead of immediately picking him up, I would shush him in the crib. I would pat his butt, rub his back, give him a kiss, sing a song to him, get him to soothe in the crib without having to pick him up. So first line of defense is pick up, put down. Once you feel comfortable with that or you're ready to move on, you can do crib side soothing, pull up a chair because you're gonna be there for a while. I remember thinking at 6 weeks, I was like, is this even worth it? Because they take, what, 4 to 5 naps a day? You're doing this method 4 to 5 times a day plus at night. It's exhausting, you guys, and you're already sleep deprived. It is not easy. It's not for the weak. But I'm so glad I stuck with it. I remember crying. I was like, cribside, what am I doing? Like, is this worth it? Is he ever gonna learn? Is he ever gonna sleep more than 2 hours at night? Because at 6 weeks, he was still only sleeping 2 hours at night. I wrote it down because I was like, I need to remember this for baby number 2 and not freak out at 6 weeks when they're only sleeping 2 hours at night. It's so worth it though, because at 10 weeks, he slept through the night. The definition of sleeping through the night is 6 hours or more. So when someone says, my baby slept through the night at 6 weeks, I'm like, okay, whatever. But just remember that doesn't mean they're sleeping 7 to 7. That just means they're getting 6 hours at a time, which is amazing. That's amazing. So from 5 to 8 weeks, I would say that was the hardest time because we weren't really contact napping. I was trying to have him learn this new skill of not falling asleep on my chest and falling asleep independently. It was hard. It was a dedicated work. Like, you got to put in the work. At about 8 weeks, he got his first 4-hour stretch at night. And I was like, bless. We're making progress. And I would notice, like, from week 5 to week 8, it would take less and less crib side soothing. So you can kind of give yourself benchmarks and say, okay, it's Friday. Next Friday, I'm going to evaluate and see. It took me 20 minutes to crib side soothe him. Today, it only took me 10. Okay, so we're making progress. Okay, where was I going with that? Where was I going with that one? So he started sleeping through the night. And by sleeping through the night, I mean he would sleep from, because we still did a 10:30 dream feed, he would sleep from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. So that's what I consider sleeping through the night. At 5 a.m., I would pick him up because he would be awake. I would pick him up. I would notice that he would be very sleepy. He wasn't crying from hunger. And this goes back to, don't just shove a bottle or breast in your baby's mouth. Like, really think about it. Are they actually hungry or do they just want to sleep on you? So when he would wake up at 4 a.m., I would pick him up, put him on my chest, and I would lay down on the bed in the nursery. I would be awake because I'm like insomniac. He would sleep on my chest from 4 to 7. He would knock out. Like, if I were to get into the habit of just feeding him at 4 a.m., why? Like, you know what I mean? So if your baby's waking in the night and they've already hit 12 pounds, you don't need to feed them anymore. Talk to your doctor. Talk to your doctor. Don't yell at me. Talk to your doctor. From my research and my own comfort level, when he hit 12 pounds, we no longer fed him through the night. What that meant was from the 10:30 feeding, dream feed, to 7 a.m., no milky. Because he wasn't hungry. If you think your baby's hungry, feed your baby. I knew my baby wasn't hungry. He just wanted to sleep on our chest. So that's what we did. Okay, so let's backtrack. Before they hit 12 pounds, right? How do you know if your baby is hungry? Just follow the 3 to 4 hour rule. So 3 hours during the day, 3 to 4 hours at night, feed them, whatnot. Let's say you fed them at 10 p.m. and it's only 12, right? So it's only been 2 hours. Do not feed them at 12 a.m. Even if they wake up, cuddle them, get them back to sleep. When they wake up next time, feed them. But we shouldn't just be rushing to feed because that's easy. It is easy. It's easy because you know they're just gonna fall asleep after they eat. But if you put in the work now, it'll pay off. The best way to stay on track with your day is to feed at 7 a.m. If you end up feeding at 6, 5, 4, you might get thrown off your whole day because that 7 a.m. feed is crucial to anchor the day. From all the books I've read, it's just so important to start your day at the same time, even in the trenches. You guys, this was one of the hardest things for me. I was like so tired because I had insomnia, couldn't sleep all night. 7 a.m. rolls around, I'm like, oh, the last thing I want to do is start my day at 7 a.m. Even if I'm just laying in bed because I couldn't sleep. Like, I was just so tired. I just didn't want to get up. He was sleeping on my chest. I was like, please let me just lay here for 30 more minutes. But I didn't. And I think that's what helped a lot, was not giving in to that. Okay, so even when he started sleeping more through the night, the nap times were still hard. The nap times were hard up until 4 months. So let's fast forward 2 months, 10 weeks, he was sleeping through the night. Things were good. I started sleeping a little bit better. I would still have to have him sleep on my chest from 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. And slowly but surely, onward we go to 3 months old. He would wake up at 5 instead of 4. 5:30 instead of 5, 6 some days. I was like, whoa, like this is amazing. But this was all happening very, very, very slowly. Nap times were still a struggle, which I'm gonna talk about naps in 1 second. He is now 4 months. Only the past 2 nights, literally just these past 2 nights, he slept 7:15 p.m., 7:30 p.m. to 7 a.m. I am blown away. Like, I cannot even believe this is happening. Is this real life? But yes, it's possible. It happened, and I'm just like so happy, so grateful. But throughout this whole time, you guys, up from like a month old, he would only sleep 30 minutes in the crib. Okay, so even though I was putting him down awake, helping him fall asleep, crib-side soothing, he would still only sleep 30 to 45 minutes, which is 1 sleep cycle. And all of these schedules are like, have your baby sleep an hour and a half, an hour and a half, an hour and a half, an hour and a half. I was like, how is your baby sleeping an hour and a half? So here's what I learned. I figured this out. Let me think, use my brain, right? I realized that the earliest he would wake up from a nap is 28 minutes. So every day for 2 to 3 crib naps, I would pick him up at 27 minutes, very carefully pick him up, put him on my chest, and continue the nap for an hour and a half. That was the only thing that worked for us. So you may ask, well, why not just do a contact nap the whole time? Well, because I wanted him to learn how to go to sleep independently, and he did. He eventually learned that. And also, that 45 minutes, give or take, gave me the chance to clean the house, do the dishes, put my face on, whatever I needed to do. That bought me 30 minutes of time. I would say only the past 2 weeks, he's 4 months 1 day, only in the past 2 weeks, I stopped picking him up. And I was like, okay, at this point, you're reaching 4 months old. Studies show that they can soon learn to connect sleep cycles for naps. I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop picking you up in the middle of your nap and just see what happens. So I picked him up for a good 3 months. I would pick him up every single nap time at 27 minutes. Towards the end of the day, I would do contact nap, just like straight carrier nap. People would come at me all the time being like,
you just don't like your baby, like you never contact nap, like babies need contact. I'm like, I contact nap?
Every single nap, if you think about it, because I'm picking him up every single time. I'm sweating. Let's continue. He is now 4 months old. Did we have a 4-month sleep regression? Yes, we did. It was very mild, I will say, and I think all of the back work that I did leading up to this point really, really helped us to have a very mild 4-month sleep regression. So there was about 3 days where he would wake up at 3 a.m., at 4 a.m., at 5 a.m., at 6 a.m., at 7 a.m. And up until this point, he was sleeping solidly up until 5:36. Okay, so we're backtracking a little bit. He's now waking up at 3 again, at 4 again, at 5 again. Now, this is where everyone's comfort level is different. When he woke up at 3, I did not immediately rush to his aid. I gave him 15 solid minutes. Let me be clear. He was not screaming. He was not high-pitched crying. He was whining. He was still half asleep. He was like, you know, a little bit of this. Gave him 15 minutes, went right back down to sleep. Same thing at 4 a.m., same thing at 5 a.m. Sometimes the 5, 6 a.m. one would be harder because now his cortisol is up. The day is starting. He's almost fully awake for the day. So that one, sometimes I would have to pick him up. There was one day where we started our day at 6 a.m. and I was like, okay, I know he's up for the day. We're gonna have a crazy day. It's okay. We'll deal with it. It's not a big deal. So that was about 3 days. And now after that, he's been sleeping basically 7 to 7, some days 6:30, and that was our sleep regression. When you put in the upfront work and you are with your baby for every nap time, teaching them to self-soothe from 5 weeks to 4 months, you start to realize your baby can self-soothe. So he started being able to suck his fingers at around 3 months old. From one nap to the next, from one day to the next, I would notice he would take less and less time, less and less comfort from me to fall asleep, up until the point where now, after the 4-month regression, he doesn't cry at all when we put him down, whether it's for nighttime, whether it's for naps. The most he'll do is be like really, you just put me down? But that's it. I will insert a current nap. This is from this morning. I just put him down and then I got ready and I'm filming this video. He literally fell asleep within 5 minutes. No crying, no whining, no protesting. I changed his diaper, put him in his sleep sack, turned off the lights, turned on the sound machine, put him down. I usually will sing him a song, but sometimes I don't. Put him down, walk out. Sometimes I will walk back in and adjust him. Since now he's rolling over, I will adjust his arm if I see that his arm is like stuck under him. Sometimes he'll stick his arm out through the side of the crib, so I'll adjust him if needed, and bam, he's asleep within 5 to 15 minutes. If it takes him longer than 15-20 minutes, I know that I probably put him down too early or too late. His sleep pressure is probably off somehow. All right, guys, it's 10 o'clock. He just woke up right on time for his next feeding on the mom's on call schedule. Look at my happy boy. He was self-soothing, didn't cry at all. I caught him just as he was waking up. Is it time to wake up? Do you want to relax for a little bit? Oh, are you awake? I think a myth and a misconception that people have with sleep, quote unquote, sleep trained babies is that they are upset or they feel unloved, but he's just so happy. He wakes up happy, excited to see us, and there's no tears, there's no sadness here. He's just a happy baby who loves to sleep in his crib, who enjoys a contact nap every once in a while, and mom and dad are happy as well. Yeah, I'm Jessie and I'm happy. Same thing at nighttime. We have a night routine. I have a whole video on that. I'll link that down below. You ready for bed? Up, 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 up. Oh yeah. Are you ready for bed? You like your sleep sack? I'm gonna link this sleep sack down below. It's from Amazon and it's really good, right? Okay, so we do the white noise. We do the light off. We put him down. It's time for bed. It's time for bed. Good night, Jessie. Good night, Jessie. Yeah. Happy? Are you happy? Are you happy? All right, good night. Good night. Sleep tight. And that's it, folks. It's really simple, nothing crazy. It's just bath or wipe down. We give him his final bottle of the day. We spend quality time, cuddles. Sometimes we read a book, sometimes we don't. Sleep sack, white noise, turn the lights on, sing a song to him. I usually sing You Are My Sunshine, and that's kind of his cue that it's bedtime, and he really likes that song. So that's what I sing to him, put him down, walk out. And he's asleep usually within 15-20 minutes. So that's where we are right now. He is 4 months, 1 week. Doesn't protest at all when I put him down, and that's a new thing from the past week. So like I said, exactly at 4 months, we had those 3 days where he was waking up pretty frequently, but would put himself back down, give him 20 minutes, use your comfort level. If your comfort level is, okay, 5 minutes, try to extend that, because if you give them time, they will put themselves back to sleep, and it's not this barbaric thing where they're screaming and wailing. I think genuinely, because we've been working on it with him for so long, we've never had a situation where we let him cry for crazy amounts of time. Like if he ever started crying aggressively, or like the type of cry where you're like, oh my gosh, like immediately we comfort him and do whatever we need to do. I started to know his cry when he was just like upset that I put him down, versus a cry where he was hungry, or a cry where he like really was like scared or something. Use your parent intuition. Okay, let's get into your questions that you asked me. I have a couple longer situational ones and then some shorter ones that will rapid fire. So this mom says, hi, my baby's 7 weeks old. Just bought the mom's on call. My baby does decent at night, but fights her daytime naps, will only sleep in the crib bassinet for 30 minutes. Obviously she's so young, but I wanted to know, have you experienced that, or was it just the schedules that helped? So yes, like I said, same thing with my baby. I would pick him up at the 27-minute mark and continue the nap. If for some reason I accidentally woke him up while doing that and he wouldn't go down, I would entertain him until the next feeding time. So I would not move the feeding time up, because remember, they're not hungry. Why are they upset? Because you just woke them up from their nap. Even if you didn't wake them up and they woke up at that 30-minute mark naturally and they're crying because they should be sleeping longer, but they can't. So they're tired. So don't just rush to feed them. Worst case, you entertain them, take them outside. Jessie loves being outside. Play with them, interact with them, sing them songs until that next scheduled feeding. At what age did you move him into his crib? At 1 month, he was in the full-size crib in his room. Personally, that's what worked for us. And yes, get on the schedule. If you are not getting on any type of schedule, just do it. You gotta try it. My baby just turned 2 months old. He is not the best at self-soothing and will wake up every 5 to 10 minutes during his naps to be patted again to fall asleep. So this is what I would do. On the first nap of the day is usually their easiest nap. They're in the best mood because they just had a full night's sleep or longer stretch of sleep. So that first nap is the one where you want to start working on that self-soothing. If they struggle and that nap does not go well, that's okay, because you still have 2 to 3 naps the rest of the day. You can contact nap for those next naps, do a stroller nap, whatever you need to do so that your baby is well slept. But that first nap of the day, I would encourage you to work on that self-soothing. It's so hard and it takes so much patience, but from weeks 5 to 8, you guys, I was going crazy because I was like, am I making any progress? But stick with it, especially for that first nap of the day. Give it your best shot. If he still won't fall asleep for 30 minutes, like let's say it's been 30, 45 minutes, he still won't fall asleep. At that point, save the nap, pick him up, pick her up, let her sleep on you, but start again the next day. Try again the next day. Do not give up. Transition to sleepsack. My baby keeps waking himself up with his hands and his legs. So I'm not sure what age you transitioned. We did it at like three months, 1 week. We did it cold turkey and he did really well. It did take him a little bit longer to fall asleep for a few nights. And he did have a few night wakings. But again, because we were working so hard on self-soothing, when he would wake up, he wasn't expecting to be fed or expecting to be picked up. If anything, he would expect like a butt pat, if that. So I think laying in the groundwork is super important. If you haven't done the groundwork, now is the time to do it. It's never too late. Start working on that soothing. But luckily it was just like a couple of night wakings and he just put himself right back to sleep after. What do you do when he starts crying during crib naps? So he wouldn't really cry during naps. He would sleep at least 30 minutes in the crib. If he woke up before I could pick him up at that 27-minute mark, I would soothe him back to sleep and have him contact nap. But right now he doesn't cry because now he's actually able to sleep for an hour and a half. He's starting to connect sleep cycles. So now I will leave him in the crib for an hour and a half. He will wake up usually at that 45-minute mark. He'll look around a little bit and put himself back to sleep, and I won't go in there until it's been an hour and a half, unless of course he starts crying, but that hasn't been the case. For Jesse, he hasn't cried. If he did cry hard, I would soothe him. Are you still using Huckleberry? Are his naps at the same time every day? No, we're no longer using Huckleberry just because I'm not tracking things like that anymore. I'm confident in, like I've learned him to this point. At this point, I kind of know him and I kind of know what our schedule is going to be. Naps at the same time, for the most part, our schedule will usually differ by about 30 minutes. So this is based on his wake up time. If he wakes up at 6:30 and is crying because he's hungry, I'm going to feed him at 6:30. Like I'm not going to force him to wait till 7 if I can tell that he's hungry. So the most will differ is by 30 minutes on our schedule, but I try to keep it at that. Naps seem different every day. That's totally okay. That's how it was for us for a very long time too. As long as you anchor your feeding times, they will tell you when they're tired and you can adjust naps as needed, but anchor the feeding times. Start at 7 a.m., 7, 10, 1, 4, 7. Do that and the naps will be sometime in between. If you can anchor the feedings, you're off to a great start. The total nap time comes in every day at 3 to 3.5 hours, so that is static. That is the most important thing. Look up total daytime sleep for your baby's age and make sure to be within that range. So it doesn't really matter when the naps are, as long as they're spaced out enough to the point where they're getting that 3 hours, that 2 hours, whatever age appropriate daytime sleep is for your baby. Okay, let's get into some rapid fire questions. Do you do a dream feed at night? So we did that up until, I want to say 3 months. At 3 months, we traveled for a wedding. His schedule was so off that we ended up not doing the dream feed because he went to bed so late. So then when we got home from that trip, we were like, okay, let's try just not doing the dream feed. And he slept from like 7:30 to 5 a.m. So we were like, okay, no more dream feed. So just try it out. It's very scary, but try dropping the dream feed and see what happens. Again, assuming they hit that 12-pound mark, talk to your doctor. How did you get Jesse to take longer naps during the day? My baby is stuck at 45 minutes. Said it already, but now that he's 4 months, after that rough few days, he's able to wake up at 45 minutes, look around a little bit, and put himself back down to sleep. So it's not that he does sleep longer, it's that he can put himself back to sleep. If your baby's like at least 3 months, 3.5 months, I would say start like letting them figure it out and only rush in there if they're crying. But I wouldn't stress about that before like 3.5 months because they're developmentally, I believe, not super capable of doing that until about 3-4 months. So up until then, like don't stress about it. Just contact nap, extend the nap however you can. Once you can see them self-soothing a little bit, sucking their fingers, pacifier. My baby doesn't take a pacifier, but I've heard from other moms that if you put a bunch of pacifiers in the crib, eventually they'll be able to like put it back in their mouth if it falls out. So don't stress too much about it until 3-4 months, and then just kind of step back, put your baby in the crib for an hour and a half. How do I get my guy to use his crib? He only naps in my arms. Yeah, you just got to do it from day one, I think. And if you haven't done that, then just start now and start that method that I talked about, the crib side soothing, crib side shushing, pick up, put down, pick up, put down, pick up, put down. Start now. In 2 to 3 weeks, they're going to get the hang of it. When did he start sleeping on his tummy and turn by himself? So around, I want to say 4 months, like very recently he started turning over. 3 months, 3 weeks-ish, we were like hyper vigilant, like, oh my gosh, is he gonna suffocate? Just keep an eye on it. But this is how God designed them to be able to turn and roll at this age. Make sure you have a breathable crib mattress. Make sure you're following the safe sleep practices. Don't have them sleep on your bed or on the couch. Please just make sure you have a safe sleep environment. How are you putting him down? Drowsy but awake seems so hard. Yeah, that didn't work for us. I just put him down fully awake from 5 weeks onward, because again, he wouldn't transfer. There was no other choice for me. Unless I was doing a contact nap, he was going down fully awake, and it took practice. Bedtime is either sometime between 7 and 7:30. I use my intuition. If his last nap was at like 2 p.m. and it's 7 o'clock, I'll put him down because I know he's so tired. If he did take a short nap between like 5 and 5:30, I will put him down more towards 7:30. Do you still do contact naps? Yes, we do mostly carrier naps, and this would be the third and or fourth nap of the day. So that like 1:30, 2 p.m. nap, sometimes he has a harder time going down in the crib, which is completely normal. So we'll do a carrier nap, and then if he does take a short nap around 5 o'clock, it's usually like 15-20 minutes. He'll doze off. Usually that's in the carrier. He's getting so big that if I just lay him on my chest on the bed, like without a structure like a carrier, he like rolls around, and like if I'm not like hugging him, he will like climb off of me. So that's why the carrier is super helpful. Dropping from 4 naps to 3 naps. So right now we do 3 naps no matter what. That 4th nap is 15-20 minutes, and he will take it if he needs it. If he's like really fussy, really cranky at 5 o'clock, I know he needs that 15-20 minute nap. I'll put him in the carrier, go in the room, white noise, black room, no lights, walk around the room for 30 minutes. He'll doze off for 15-20. Do you think sleep training would work for breastfed babies other than expressed breast milk? I think it's harder, and I'm not gonna lie, I think I have no experience with that because I started formula at 8 weeks, but I think it would be harder only because breast milk is a little bit thinner than formula, so formula holds them over a little bit longer, and also the breastfed babies are used to that bonding, that comfort so frequently throughout the day and throughout the night. It's harder for them to self-soothe, I believe, because they are just very close to you. They're breastfeeding all the time, and it's totally natural. I totally get why people love breastfeeding because they feel that connection. The baby also feels that connection, but to each their own. I do think it is a little bit harder, but I think there's also many benefits to breastfeeding, obviously, and the bond that some people have with their baby from breastfeeding. So it's really like what works for you and your family. But I do think it's harder. Do you use an Owlet or the Nanit breathing monitor? No, I don't. I think that would give me more anxiety. I kind of just leave it in God's hands. I know we have a safe sleep environment. We've done everything we can, and I don't use those devices. But again, everyone do what works for you. How do you manage colic issues after feeding? My newborn is struggling to sleep. I don't think we've experienced this, so I cannot comment. I sympathize with you. I can only imagine how difficult it must be if you have reflux or colic or any of these additional issues. I'm not the best person to seek that out. I would definitely talk to your doctor and other moms who've been through the same thing. Do you feed or rock to sleep at all? No, we do not. Up until 5 weeks we did. He would like fall asleep very easily on our chest, or sometimes he would fall asleep while drinking a bottle. But from 5 weeks onward, like I said, we started working on independent sleeping. How does he self-soothe without a passy? He sucks his fingers. With the moms on call schedule, what do you do when he wakes up too early? Do you shift the whole schedule? Like I said, only a 30-minute shift. If needed, I will entertain him until the next scheduled feeding, which is difficult. If you're tired and you give in, it's very easy to just feed them because you know that will satisfy them, but that's not always what they're asking for. By the way, we switched from the Contented Baby book to the Moms on Call schedule, I think around 6 to 8 weeks. I found that the Moms on Call kind of more aligned with what he naturally wanted to do. But again, that's the pro of having multiple resources. You can reference back and be like, well, this one kind of works better right now. And if it stops working, you can reference your other resources and say, this one's working for me right now. How do you handle other people watching him and keeping the schedule? So if I drop him off at my parents' house, I will tell them the schedule. I will tell them he just woke up, feed him at this time, put him down at this time. When he wakes up from the nap that you put him down for, 1 hour and 15 minutes, put him down again. He sleeps beautifully now. This is a new thing, okay? So for the past 2 weeks, He's been going down super easy in the playpen at my parents' house. Again, I think things totally change after the 4-month sleep regression. And now is the time, if you haven't already sleep trained or if they haven't learned to self-soothe, now is the time. If they've hit 4 months, now is the time. They are capable. What is sleep? Who is she? I'm with you, girl. I was like that. I had insomnia for the longest time. Even though I had opportunities to sleep, I couldn't sleep. So I'm right there with you. If your baby has not finished the bottle, when do you keep offering the same to finish? I followed the advice in the Contented Baby book, which is that you have 45 minutes to feed the baby. So let's say it takes him 15 minutes. He finished three quarters of the bottle. He's too excited. He wants to play now, or he's distracted. That's totally fine. Give him a 15-minute break, reintroduce the bottle, see if he'll finish. Don't force it down their throat, but offer it to them and see if they want to finish, and you have 45 minutes from the start of the feed time to finish that feeding. My 18-month-old still wakes multiple times a night to feed. So I would question this. Why is your child not meeting their daily calories during the day? They should be fully capable from 12 pounds, in my opinion, and from the research. But even at a year, when they're on solids, they should be getting all of their calories during the day. They should not be waking up hungry. It may take a few days of transition, so slowly wean back those night feeds. Instead of offering 30 minutes on the breast, I don't know how long, 10 minutes on the breast, offer 5 minutes. After a couple of days, they will be hungrier during the day, they will eat more during the day, and they won't be as hungry at night. This is the concept that can apply from 12 pounds onward. I think it's a breastfeeding thing because I see a lot of breastfeeding moms who have this repeat wake ups, and a lot of them don't mind it. If you don't mind it, it's working for you guys, that's amazing. But I don't really hear this a lot with formula fed babies, this is no reason to formula feed. Formula feed for whatever reason you want to. But I think formula feeders have an easier time because they're not, it's not a comfort thing. Like the bottle isn't very comforting for a formula fed baby. So if they do wake up, you can comfort them with a quick cuddle, a quick kiss, a quick song, whatever it is. But I think going back to that breastfeeding thing, I think it's more of a comfort thing for the breastfed babies. Do you change your baby's diaper in the middle of the night? My baby will wake up with a full wet diaper. No, we don't change the diaper unless we know for sure he pooped. Obviously, we change it right away. We don't want him sitting in that. But there have been cases where he wakes up with a poopy diaper. It's happened like 2 or 3 times, and it is what it is. There's no way to know unless you're listening to the monitor and you hear them like farting, or if you're in the room with them. There's no way to know if they're not crying or if they never wake up. Like there's no way to know. And from my research, it's completely safe to let them go with a diaper full of pee. Obviously, if you know they did number 2, clean it right away, but a full diaper of pee from my research is safe. Is 8 weeks too early for sleep training? Again, this is a gray area. You have to start working slowly on these things. By 4 months, 100% they can self-soothe. I'm a firm believer in that. 8 weeks. At 8 weeks, I would do the pick up, put down, crib side soothing. It takes a lot of effort, but I wouldn't let them cry it out at 8 weeks. I wouldn't let them cry it out ever, full force crying, but fussing and whining, I'm okay with. At 8 weeks, I'm okay with that. How do you make sure he gets enough calories during the day? Structure those feed times. Do not deviate from those feed times. Full feeds, avoid snacking. If you're snacking every hour, you're actually getting less calories throughout the day. So anchor those feed times. How did you drop the night feed? Again, 12 weeks, cold turkey. We would pick him up. He would fall asleep on our chest. If your baby is not falling asleep and will not go to sleep, feed them. Use your brain. Use your intuition. I'm not saying to starve your baby. I already know the trolls are going to be coming at me saying she wants to starve babies. That's not the case. See if he'll go down without eating. If he won't go down and it's been 20 minutes, feed him. But sometimes you need to sleep with them on your chest. That's what I did. At 2 a.m. from 2 to 3 and then transfer him back into the crib. If that's what you have to do to wean out that night feed, I'm okay with that. All right, you guys, that is basically all of the sleep stuff that I have to say. I think I covered everything. Please leave your detailed questions in the comments. I will answer them down below, but I'm glad I have this video where I can point people to, because I do get questions a lot. So feel free to send this to your friends, rewatch this, read the books that I will link for you if you haven't already. Highly recommend, especially the first one where she tells you how to read your baby's cues and to not automatically assume that they're hungry when it could be other things. That is, I think, the number one takeaway from this video is to observe your baby, learn their cues. And this takes time, especially as a first-time mom. It took me like 2 months to be like, oh, he's actually overstimulated, or he's actually just wanting to be entertained. He's been bored all day. We haven't been outside. So that would be the number one takeaway. But thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate it. Again, not a doctor, not an expert, just sharing what I did as a first-time mom. Give this video a like if it was helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to check out Nutrafol down below. Bye!